Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Man Without a Face, starring Mel Gibson, Nick Stahl, Margaret Whitten, Faye Masterson, Gabby Hoffman, Jeffrey Lewis, and Richard Macer, forgive me if I said that wrong, directed by Mel Gibson. Now, why am I doing a Mel Gibson retrospective in his directorial debut after what he did to that lady cop, calling her the please don't make me say it, it's not one of my favorite words. But yeah, he's had his trouble in the past, but I'm going to move on from that and direct this movie and his few other films that he directed before I get to Flight Risk. It looks interesting with Marky Mark looking like a half-haired, half-bald. I don't know. I won't spoil it until I see the movie, but I haven't seen it yet, so I couldn't tell you. So I've seen almost all of them. This is the only one I have not seen yet until I do this review. So let's get started. The year is 1968, and we get a graduation from the military academy. And who's dreaming of graduating military school? Charles E. Norstad, or aka Chuck, played by a young Nick Stahl, who I reviewed in Terminator 3, and I still have yet to do Sin City, as he sees his mother, Catherine Palin, played by Margaret Whitten, half-sister Meg, played by Gabby Hoffman, and Gloria, played by Faye Masterson, as in reality Chuck flunked military academy and goes with his mother and stepsisters to the ferry while Catherine and Gloria come off very unlikable, while Meg comes off funny to me, and Chuck stabs the tire of the car they drove in with and messes up the car until the man without a face, Justin McLeod, played by director Mel Gibson, and Gloria sees it, and Gloria stares and acts like a child and talks nasty about a cat, while Meg follows Chuck while he's trying to study and goes off with his friends to where Justin is living at. I'm going to just call him Justin. I don't care about Mr. McLeod or whatever the hell his last name is. I don't know how you say that name in general, so let's just move on. And acting this is okay. Well, a couple of the characters come off unlikable, like his friends come off unlikable as well. The boys get to the lake where Justin lives at one point. They get attacked by the dog Mickey. And Chuck left his books behind. And later on, he goes to the house where Justin lives at, as the cinematography is pretty not great. And he does this stare that I don't know how that makes him think or whatever the hell that is, that people comment looks stupid, while like Catherine, Meg, and Gloria, and Justin finds him outside his place in the rain and warms Chuck up with the fire and a hot beverage and asks him to leave. And Chuck asks about what he taught at a university, and the character Mel Gibson plays is not one of his best characters, as it's not one of his best performances, nor is it his best work, in my opinion. Catherine has a guy over at his place named Professor Hartley, who works at a school of some kind as Justin tries to see his pretty side of his face while listening to opera. And next day comes and Chuck goes to the house on the lake and insults Mickey in a joking manner until Justin shows up, and Chuck begs Justin to teach him some things when he doesn't have the time. Justin asks Chuck to make a 3-foot hole, and when he finishes, Justin asks Chuck to write an essay of any topic he wanted. And Chuck says he can't write worth a damn, and Justin asks Chuck to leave, and he does, and the writing is pretentious, as Catherine has a party with some people, and they talk about Justin in a negative way, and Chuck has something rude to say to Professor Hartley, which was rather dumb as seen, in my opinion. Chuck asks Catherine why Gloria hates him so damn much, while she tells him she was jealous of Chuck when she was 4 years old when he was born, and I'm not buying into this crappy dialogue, as he goes back to Justin's place and asks for another 3-foot hole on the ground, and Chuck learns more things about his writing, and he can't spell, and he writes about his issues, and we learn he was writing someone else's essay, as he writes his own, as he believes he can't write a good word about anything in general, and he comes up with something about Marvel comic books, like why does Spider-Man suck compared to the Silver Surfer? and Justin assigns him about the word suck as he leaves and bumps into Meg while she is at the cemetery. And the next day comes and he comes back and fills up the holes while he's out of the house and barges in and looks around the house until he brings Mickey the dog home and hides from him. Chuck sees half of Justin's body is scarred, and we learn Mickey was harmed by a porcupine, which we don't see it, so I'm okay with it. And some of this acting is pretty bad, as this plot felt very predictable. Justin teaches Chuck some things in writing versus poetry, amongst other things. Meanwhile, at home, Gloria brings a guy named Douglas home, while Chuck reads poetry as she tries to give Douglas the sandwich he was eating, and she sees the book as Chuck is afraid to tell Catherine about it. She'll freak out over the fact that she doesn't know Justin and is afraid of him. As he tries to return the book after reading and finished it, and Chuck overhears Catherine and Gloria talking about him behind his back. And does she approve of Chuck seeing Justin? As that was confusing to me until we get to later in the film. There were times the movie went to a confusing routes, and that didn't feel necessary for me. Justin and Chuck act out a scene in a play, and they are getting in each other's company. They are getting into each other's company, as Nick Stahl is not a good actor as a kid, nor is he a good actor as in adult movies like Terminator 3 nor Sin City. But to be honest, I've never watched Carnival, the HBO show that he had. And based on this movie and the two other movies, I don't think I want to at this point. While at a convenience store, Chuck sees a girl he likes and screws up what to say to her and beats himself up over it as he asks Justin about women, as he says he was married and gets the short answer of them about how much water they have than men. And I'm no expert, but that doesn't make much sense. And he lost his wife in a car crash, and that's how he got a half scar saying a piece of art. And I couldn't make sense of this scene at all, but maybe it might be explained later. I just couldn't tell you. Chuck goes on a boat to his friends, and his crush hang out with them and tells them about Justin's backstory at nighttime coming. And Justin is drunk and yells at Chuck as he wakes up, and thank God it was just a damn dream. As Chuck catches Catherine and Professor Hartley are getting married, as Meg and Gloria come in and make a scene, as Chuck leaves the house and goes to Justin's house while Gloria hangs out with Professor Hartley as they play Scrapple. While Chuck doesn't play, and Chuck and Catherine go to the grocery store, as does Justin, and he leaves in such a hurry while Catherine doesn't know a damn thing about Justin tutoring him, and Chuck gets distracted by the events going on around him, and he gets out on a couple of and takes it out on a couple of people and confesses he did something wrong and to Justin, like stabbing him in the back. And at this point, I just don't care. Justin confesses to Chuck he likes privacy while they have a picnic together, as Justin believes he's a troll as he studies for the exam. And by definition, I mean Chuck studies for the exam and at the military academy while a Western movie is playing on the background. And he takes the test and he has to wait till the next day to know his score, while the sheriff asks Chuck is he been hanging around with Justin. And next day comes and Chuck learns he's got an 84% on his exam, and they go flying. And the scene was pretty pretentious as Justin drives Chuck home and sees his cat Mac and sees Gloria and Douglas having intercourse of some kind. And Douglas holds him while Gloria gets Mac the cat hurt. And I felt very bad for that poor cat, and learns his father was crazy, and learns Justin was his father. Or is that what it is? I don't know. This movie's confusing to me. That felt dumb enough as it is. The sheriff comes by Justin's house and collects Chuck as he was upset about Gloria. And this is when I hate Gloria at this point in time. But Justin has no choice but to give Chuck back to Catherine. And Chuck learns Justin was abusing his son. And he runs to his room and he slaps Gloria and Justin coming by the house at this point. Catherine comes off very alienating, as well as she believes Chuck is a psycho, which is what she is. I mean, my God, why is she acting like Yoshi's Bananas? Not that Yoshi ever existed back in 1968. Justin says he tried to get away from the law for 7 years and now he can't get his groceries while the law acts like village idiots around him. And he almost commits suicide for the situation while Chuck hates on Catherine and Gloria makes him go to the exam as he drives the car to Justin's house while he says he's not allowed to talk to Chuck and tries to get the truth from Justin about his son's death. So that's where that went. I don't know what's going on in this movie anymore. And Chuck gives Justin a hug about it. Well, Justin says he was a very good student as the sheriff arrives, and Chuck goes to the exam. And why the hell is this movie going on for so damn long? As this is almost a 2-hour movie. Justin goes to court about teaching Chuck poetry and confesses how much of a great student Chuck was, and freaks out over how they're accusing him of befriending a kid like Chuck is while acting like a smartass to the court. As Chuck gets back into the military academy, and he jumps out at night to visit Justin as he's left and wrote a note to Chuck saying that he's no longer allowed to see nor talk to him. And he grows up and graduates military academy in 1972 as his forsaken family sees him graduating, and he saw Justin at his graduation, as an older man. And the climax made this movie so damn depressing. I didn't want it to end that way, but how do I feel about the movie? Let's talk about the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.3 out of 10. Not one of Mel Gibson's best characters, performances, nor work, as the characters, even his character, comes off very unlikable. While the writing is pretentious and Nick Stahl is not a good actor as a kid, nor was he ever a good actor as an adult in movies like Terminator 3 or Sin City, for example, as I've never watched Carnival, but the acting in this is bad in general, and the plot felt very predictable to me. There were times the movie went confusing routes that I couldn't understand it, as the cinematography was pretty not great, in my opinion, as there were also times I couldn't make sense of what these characters were saying, and I just don't care, as I don't care for any of these characters. Sometimes the movie was pretentious and predictable, but at the end of the day, it was so damn depressing, and I didn't want it to end that way. So I have no choice but to mildly not recommend this movie to people as Mel Gibson's first directorial debut, as this is a mild non-recommendation for this movie, as it was just so damn depressing. And now I'm depressed after this movie ended. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Mel Gibson's probably best, I don't remember too much about his other stuff, Braveheart. And until then, stay safe, Mel. Stay safe.